into the pockets of those 4 states down there. And it just makes no sense at all after the $150 billion we gave them just 6 years ago. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Louisiana.
I would only remind the gentleman from Massachusetts that this is, if you are an environmentalist and if you want to help protect the environment like I know the gentleman from Massachusetts so desperately wants to do. I've served with him in committee and enjoyed his passion for taking care of the environment. This is an environmental amendment. The citizens of Louisiana have passed a constitutional amendment that dedicate all of the proceeds from offshore royalty to go to wetlands restoration, coastal restoration, and hurricane protection. This is buying us an insurance policy that the other 46 states who I know have been so generous to help us when hurricanes attack ravage our coast. This helps to protect us, and I know that the gentleman from Massachusetts would love to help protect the environment in Louisiana. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Yeah, I thank the gentleman. I yield myself as much time as I may consume, and again, I'd be willing to have a conversation with the gentleman from Louisiana about what the proper way is of dealing with the funding for the preservation of the wetlands and the other environmentally sensitive areas down in the Gulf of Mexico. But this isn't the way to do it. This is just another permanent entitlement that we're building into the law here, unattached to the hearings and the evidence that we need in order to make sure that whatever expenditures are made by the federal government are actually going for the intended purpose. And that's not what this discussion is here tonight with a 5-minute amendment that we're debating. $6 billion should come at a closer scrutiny than the kind of debate that we're having at 9:15 at night on the House floor, with the only people who are watching the debate really need to get a life, because that's about the level of public scrutiny this is getting right now. And I just think the $6 billion that the gentleman is seeking to request from the public has to be dispensed in a way that actually has a better process. So again, I oppose the gentleman's amendment. I understand his intention. But for the other 46 states, I just don't think it's a good idea at this time, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Louisiana has yielded. Gentleman from Massachusetts. Gentleman from Louisiana has yielded.
I yield back the balance of my time as well.
Questions on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Louisiana. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
And on that, I request a recorded vote.
Recorded vote is requested pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18. Further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Louisiana will be postponed. It's now in order to consider Amendment Number 17, printed in House Report 112-540. For what purpose does the gentleman from Virginia seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment Number 17, printed in House Report Number 112-540, offered by Mr. Rigell of Virginia.
Pursuant to House Resolution 691, the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Rigell, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Virginia.
I thank the chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is a job-creating amendment. It reflects the wisdom and truly the will of the good folks of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and specifically within the great district that I have the privilege of serving and representing, the 2nd Congressional District of Virginia. The House of Delegates of the Commonwealth of Virginia have made it clear that they really believe we need to move forward with coastal Virginia energy. The same is true of the Virginia Senate. And just today, we got received a letter of strong support from Governor McDonnell, of which I am very grateful for his support of this amendment. It has tremendous opportunity to put folks to work. In this very chamber, Mr. Chairman, I recall vividly our President Obama, saying that he was an all-of-the-above president, and I truly think I was one of the first to leap to my feet in full support. We have really failed the American people over the last many decades in moving this country toward energy independence. So I leapt to my feet, I was clapping, yet I'm unable to reconcile what he's saying with the painful reality in Virginia too. There's a full moratorium on the responsible exploration and harvesting of Virginia's coastal Virginia energy. In my view, Mr. Chairman, this is a full moratorium on job creation. And that means there's a full moratorium on the tax revenues that we need for healthier schools and better roads. So this amendment is directed right at that, to break through and to create action where at present there's a full moratorium. The way the bill works is this. The amendment works. It's very simple. It requires the Secretary of Interior to include Virginia in the 5-year oil and leasing plan. My amendment requires the Secretary of Interior to conduct Lease Sale 220 within 1 year of enactment. Again, the word that comes to my mind is action, definitive action. This is what the American people want. This is what the good folks of Virginia's 2nd Congressional District want. It moves us away, it helps in part to move us away from dependence on countries for our oil, many of which their values are diametrically opposed to ours. And we can do this in an environmentally responsible way.
Would the gentleman yield?
I would, Mr. Chairman.
I think the gentleman has a very good lease, and I've been talking about where Virginia has been shortchanged from my point of view. I think this amendment goes a long way to advance that debate. And actually what we all want is the action. So I support the gentleman's amendment, and I yield back to him.
I thank the chairman for his support. I urge my colleagues to join us in supporting this bill. These are life-changing jobs. There's tremendous potential, and we can do this in a very environmentally responsible way. And I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from Massachusetts seek recognition?
I rise in opposition to the amendment.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
This amendment would order the Secretary of the Interior to conduct oil and gas leasing offshore in Virginia. In the wake of the Deepwater Horizon disaster, which was a lesson to all of us about the risk inherent in deepwater drilling, the Obama administration wisely canceled the proposed lease sale. The overwhelming majority of the Virginia lease sale area infringes on critical training areas for the United States Navy. The Defense Department itself has concluded that over 78% of the lease sale area would occur in areas where military operations would be impeded by drilling structures and related activities. This area is already home to a number of critical military actions, including live ordnance tests, aircraft carrier qualifications, sensitive undersea and surface operations, and shipboard qualification tests. The military's continued activities in this area would torpedo drilling in most of this land. Of the remaining 22% of the lease area, the majority of the unrestricted waters available for leasing would occur in the main shipping channel for Norfolk and the Chesapeake Bay, as well as the main channel used by submarines. So in the end, drilling could only conceivably occur in about 10% of the area that the majority is talking about off the Virginia coast, when this Congress still has not passed a single legislative reform to improve the safety of offshore drilling. This just doesn't seem like it's worth the risk. While some states may support offshore drilling, New Jersey and Maryland both oppose it, along with many other states along the eastern seaboard. These states' economies depend on the tourism that comes to see pristine, oil-free beaches and fishing that happens in their waters. And we are talking about their waters. As we saw during the BP disaster, drilling up the coast of Virginia could affect Maryland, New Jersey, and many other states up and down the East Coast because of oil spills which do not respect state boundaries. This Congress has yet to enact a single safety reform following the Deepwater Horizon disaster. The independent Blue Ribbon BP Spill Commission recently gave Congress a grade of D on its legislative response to the worst environmental disaster offshore in American history, and only refrained from handing out an F because, and these are the words of the BP Spill Commission, it did not want to insult the whole institution. The gentleman's amendment would place the entire East Coast at risk of a spill in order to open up an area where drilling may only be able to occur in about 10% of the area. That doesn't make any sense for our coastal states and their economies. The risks that we run are much higher than the very small benefits which can be derived. I urge rejection of this amendment, and I yield back the remainder of my time.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Virginia.
I yield back to the gentleman if he's prepared to close.
Gentleman's yielded. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
I yield
is
back.
Gentleman from Virginia yields. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Virginia. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
Mr. Chairman, on that I request a recorded vote.
Recorded vote is requested pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18. Further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Virginia will be postponed. For what purpose does the gentleman from Washington seek recognition?
I move that the committee do now rise.
The question is on the motion that the committee rise. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the committee rises.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union, having had under consideration H.R. 4480, directs me to report that it has come to no resolution thereon.
The Chair of the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union reports that the committee has had under consideration H.R. 4480 and has come to no resolution thereon.
Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Washington rise?
The Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns to meet at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Without objection.
Speaker. Oh.
The Chair lays before the House a personal request.
Leave of absence requested for Mr. Backus of Alabama for today.
Without objection, request is granted.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House now
Gentleman from
adjourn.
Washington.
I move that the House now adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow.